Are y'all ready to feel the burn? Feel the burn. Sorry about the choppy YouTube video, but this is what I got to work with, so fucking deal with it, okay? So Bernie Sanders is running for president. Bernie Sanders is the absolutely last chance that America has to be great. The last chance in the entire history of the United States. I mean, you only have two economic systems to choose from: capitalism, socialism. And we've already decided this issue by taking the middle road. We've decided to be half capitalistic, half socialist. So while we got public roads, public schools, post office, firefighters, police, all this is socialism. This is government, spending. This is centralized, not specific socialism. Socialism is the workers control the factory. But this is sort of Mitch McConnell's definition of socialism, a welfare state. And so we get lots of things, but it's a mixed system. So the basic human, the necessities are paid for, but if you want to go above and beyond the necessities, you got to go out and hustle. That's the way it should be. So I'm excited. I am a Kentucky voter and, a citizen of Kentucky here in Whitesburg in Letcher County. And I'm excited. I'm excited about Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, here's Bernie's platform, and it's got just his top issues. Bernie Sanders calls himself a democratic socialist. So, therefore, you know where he's coming from. And since we've only had two economic theories, why don't we try the other theory? Why don't we try the other one, right? Instead, we've always been talking about, it's all about capitalism. And whereas the engine of capitalism is strong, let's get the infrastructure built so that way the engine of capitalism can be even stronger. And that's some of Bernie's platform. He wants to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure. I don't know about you, but when I hear about someone talking about rebuilding crumbling infrastructure, it gets me a little hot and bothered. I'll be honest with you, okay? So, okay. The infrastructure is your bridges and your roads and your, your websites and your, medical records. So we do need to rebuild our infrastructure. This is actually a good thing for capitalism, just like universal health care. That was his top priority. He's going to repeal Obamacare because it's not actually universal health care. It is a sellout to the private insurance industries. Bernie Sanders wants universal health care. He wants Medicaid, Medicare for everybody, single payer, not having all these, all this big exchange. But I actually believe that all you have to do is just have a public option. Just have the public option. The public will choose the government health care, but let's see if the corporations could compete with the government. I would hurry up and sign up for government health care because government health care would be the cheapest. Everybody pays $5. And the government is supposed to just want to give the service out to the public. They're not looking to make a profit, whereas corporations want to, make the biggest profits possible. So, universal health care, free, affordable public college, free. It should be free. It's free in Mexico, free in Germany. It's free in any of these nations that believe that the education of its people is one of the basic, best ways in order to get this country moving forward. Transform our energy system. Overturn Citizens United. Raise the minimum wage to $15 in the war on drugs. When did we lose the right to our own body? This is America. This is freedom. Rebuild a crumbling infrastructure. Raise taxes on the 1%. How's it going to be paid for? The taxes. The 1%, the rich in this country get away with so much shit. They're not paying their fair share. Pay their fair share. They'll actually be able to pay for all this. And that's a good thing. With a better infrastructure, it actually makes it better for capitalism. Not just for the 1%, but for you and I. I don't understand why more people are more likely to believe that we have 150 million moochers, right? 47%. That's what Mitch McConnell, that's what Mitt Romney, that's what these fuckers say. 47% of this country are a bunch of moochers. 47%. But if you actually look at the whole why is it easier to believe that there's 150 million moochers instead of 400 greedy fucking bastards. The United States of America is being run by 400 greedy bastards. That's individuals with names and addresses. People. You don't think that 400 people are more, it's very simple. Yes, 400 people are so fucking greedy, they would rather take everybody's wealth and just screw everybody. And 400 people, once you have a table full of food, you go ahead and you eat until you're filled, to your heart's content. But once you've ate until your heart's content, then you can't take away the whole fucking table full of food. You need to come back here with that grub that you had no business with. Stop endless military spending. We spend more money on our military than the other 26 nations combined, which are our allies. That's the biggest thing in our budget. You want to know why there's, crumbling infrastructure? Well, we keep on building, F-15s and nuclear weapons and bombs. So expand Social Security. Expand Social Security. So that way you actually get more people can get on the Social Security rules. In police brutality. That's one of the main important issues. Why should somebody go around just beating the shit out of anybody that they want to beat the shit out of? If violence and terrorism is wrong, then stop with the violence and stop with the terrorism. Demilitarize the police. The police are our citizens. They are the 99%. But if they view the public as the enemy, then they are the enemy. So that's his, universal health care, free college, transform the energy, overturn Citizens United, get money out of politics. Big money in politics is ridiculous. Raise the minimum wage to $15. Everybody always has an opinion with minimum wage, fucking your poor neighbor over. What about maximum wage? You're allowed to make as much as you fucking possibly could ever imagine, so you could make $1 trillion fucking dollars, bankrupt half the damn nation, and nobody says a word about that. In the war on drugs, like I said before, it works in Portugal. We got 12 different models. Everywhere the war of drugs has been implemented, it has failed, and everywhere that the war, an alternative to the war on drugs has been implemented, it has succeeded. So why would we not carry that out? Why would we not do that? Rebuild a crumbling infrastructure, raise taxes on the 1%, stop endless military spending, expand Social Security, end police brutality, and demilitarize the police. So this is exciting stuff. This is an exciting, time and era. There's Bernie Sanders. He's well-spoken. We're going to see how he performs on Tuesday night. He also seems to be an untouchable. I don't know what he has or has not done. Something, he wrote a letter, or he tried to have like some romantic, I don't know, he tried to be like Bill O'Reilly in the loofah, right, having that sort of a book that talks about his weird, perverted fucking, things that he wants to do. But he did that in college. We also could see what else he was doing in college. He was marching with Martin Luther King Jr., marching with MLK. Kentucky, we can learn something, from that. MLK is not a bad guy. He's actually a very good man, and, we can learn from that. So I'm a democratic socialist, so I want to just throw that out there real quick. But when it comes to the police brutality, his state of Vermont is the only state that has 0 people killed. Cops have killed 0. And so Kentucky, we can learn from that also. I just got this, theguardian.com. It's a interactive website, which is very exciting because it shows the picture, shows the face, it shows the date and the guy's name, and it showed how many people have died in the United States. It's very specific. And so Kentucky, we've killed this year, the Kentucky police have killed 14 people. We've already killed 14 people compared to Vermont, who's killed 0. 0. It makes you think of like Germany and Great Britain, where they have gun violence very, infrequently. They'll have just maybe 1 or 2 people that die the entire year, the entire fucking year. And these are some of the major economic powerhouses of the world. They create so much GDP. I wanted to read off actually these names because when you speak the names of the dead to the earth, they are still alive. So Carter Ray Castle, 67, January 18th, was killed by the Kentucky police. January 16th, Howard Robbins, 69. He was struck by a vehicle, a police vehicle. You have Byron Herbert, who was shot with a gunshot, 29 years old, March 29th. Jeffrey Jackson, 47, death in custody, March 22nd. Michael Foster, 40 years old, gunshot, April 19th, 2015. Billy Collins, 56, tasered to death, May 29th. Chrislon Talbot, 38 years old, gunshot, May 21st. Michael Asher, 53, gunshot, May 4th. June 13th, Ding Mayon, 35 years old, gunshot. It was in Louisville. That was the Sudanese Lost Boys. He was trying to get his life back together. If you know anything about Sudan, there's actually a movie that I saw that was remarkable. It was great. They were laughing about the chicken, why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? They just thought that was the funniest joke in the world. I don't even know how that's a joke, to be honest with you. Josh Blau, 28 years old, gunshot, July 7th. Gustavo Ponce Galon, 42 years old, gunshot, August 6th. Tyler Detillo, 18 years old, gunshot, August 5th. Lawrence Price, 61 years old, gunshot, September 17th. And Joseph Johnson Shanks, 25 years old, gunshot, September 14th. So, this month, we've got 0. There's been 13 people killed in the United States, but in Kentucky, we've got, in the last 12 days, we haven't killed anybody. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that these cops aren't, going to just kill the rest of us. And this doesn't even count the people that are dying in our prisons. There are people that are being choked to death and suicides and not getting their medical prescriptions and overdosing. That magistrate had died in Bell County. And then there's the guy who killed himself when he was supposedly killed himself in Bell County. This is what's going on in Kentucky. This is what's happening here. Vermont didn't have these problems. Vermont has Bernie Sanders as a senator. They've accepted socialism, democratic socialism, as one of the competing economic theories, and democratic socialism as a political economic theory. If we have democracy, it's not that far of a stretch to say, let's all vote for this one thing, to let's all just control ourselves in the factory. We don't need massa to tell us what to fucking do. We don't need massa. We could just stand up for ourselves and control our own behavior. The last thing that I want to do is I want to read, there's a lot of information here, but I want to read this. Melissa Renee Cody Prater had posted this thing from an Australian, and Australians, the whole world is looking at America. The whole world is looking at our elections, and they want us to do better because they don't like us anymore. They are disappointed in how we were gangster, we use gangster diplomacy instead of actually trying to win hearts and minds, that we just want to take over the world by force, and people want to believe in our nation again. So this is the letter. There are people from Denmark, Germany, New Zealand, Canada, Norway, Portugal, Sweden, England, France, quite literally all over the world following and messaging in support of Bernie Sanders. We do it from different countries and time zones for one reason. Because you broke our hearts, America. You broke our hearts. We stood by powerlessly and watched the Bush years turn you into something that you're not. And it truly broke our hearts. We despaired for you in the Obama years. All that simmering promise destroyed by vindictive little men with small minds. We are grieving for you, America, for all that you once were and all that you could be, and we stand beside you now with the steely defiance of not accepting anything less than you deserve. Bernie Sanders is simply the most formidable candidate that the Republicans could ever come up against. There is true power in Bernie Sanders. They see it. His history proves it, and it frightens them beyond belief. He's an untouchable. He's been fighting for the good people forever. Their solution is to ridicule it and passively encourage Hillary Clinton as their preference. They all want to shut him down now before his message reaches too far, before it inspires too many. They will all portray Bernie Sanders as a dangerous socialist with a destructive agenda. ridicule with disdain. And in Australia, we're not dressed in khaki crocodile hunter uniforms, arms extended in enthusiastic salute as we goose step past billboard portraits of our fearless leader. It's really quite normal here. Implementing policies based on compassion and equality doesn't make you North Korea, manipulating democracy, controlling and censoring the media. That's what makes you North Korea. And they know this. The people that run, the 400 people that run this entire nation, 300 fucking million people are little bitches to 400 rich, wealthy, owner, cocksucking pieces of shit. And they probably don't even suck dick. They probably hate homosexuals. So I apologize to the homosexual community, but pieces of shit. Just low-life motherfuckers, you know? And so they know this. So they want to instill fear in you to think otherwise. This clearly shows how out of touch the Republicans and the corporatized establishment are about the seething disenchantment felt by millions and millions of Americans. It also shows how lowly they value your level of intelligence. You don't have any intelligence, shut the fuck up. Concerned citizens from around the world have no vested interest in the outcome of this primary or presidential election. Nothing besides the wish for a truly modern, progressive, secure, inclusive, prosperous, and revolutionary country that fulfills its promise of all it could be. When you come together and demand to be treated better in your own country, the thunderous roar of middle-class America will send shockwaves all throughout the world. Make Bernie Sanders your spokesperson. He will propel you and your country into the future. Can you imagine what that America would look like? We can, and that disillusioned Americans is why we care so much. Please repost on your timeline with my permission. With you in the struggle, Alita Langdon, Australia. Hashtag Bernie Sanders 2016. Hashtag Feel the Burn. The last thing, I'm just going to read this list off, but this is how he's going to pay for people. Oh, the taxes. It's not going to be the regular people on, you know, taxes. We're not going to get fucking taxed. The 1% is going to get taxed. They're going to end tax havens, and that's going to get approximately $100 billion per year. Speculation tax on stock trades, 0.03%, will produce $352 billion over 10 years. In tax breaks on subsidies for oil, gas, and coal, $113 billion over 10 years. So, ending tax break for big corporations and stop their tax havens, offshore accounts in Switzerland, Cayman Islands. Speculation tax, you know, the speculators supposedly were the ones that caused the 2008 crash. Progressive estate tax, $300 billion over 100 year or over 10 years. That's the tax in the 1%. Progressive tax means the poor get 5% tax, the middle class get 10%, and then the wealthy get 15%. It progressively gets a little bit bigger. Tax, and that's been around since Abraham Lincoln. So, let's see, the tax capital gains and dividends like wages, and dividends, no, my bad, tax capital gains and dividends like they do wages. So dividends, capital gains, this is stock market, this is capital gains when people sit on their capital and it appreciates in value, tax that, so that's people who, you know, that's the owner class, the people who own the capital versus the wages, the worker class. So that's $500 billion will be produced over 12 years. Repeal tax cuts on the top 2%. Just repealing the tax cuts gets you $400 billion over 12 years. Eliminate cap on taxable income for Social Security and will fund and expand Social Security. Reduce wasteful spending at the Pentagon, $100 billion per year, just like that. Establish currency manipulation fee, $500 billion over 10 years. Required negotiation from Medicaid on prescriptions, $240 billion over 10 years. So over 12 years, this is $4.8 trillion. You want America to get back on track? You want that deficit and the debt and all this shit the Republicans all fucking talk about? You want that to be, you know, you want America to be great again? You want to believe what the Donald is fucking telling you? Well, then you would do what Bernie Sanders, you would vote for Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the one who Donald Trump is stealing his ideas. He says that, you know, when Bernie Sanders says that we don't make enough income for the American dream to be possible anymore, well, Donald Trump just says, the American dream is dead, right? And then people listen to that rich fucker, and the corporate media goes ahead and parrots out to everybody But when Bernie Sanders says it, they are scared and they aren't publishing, they aren't saying this stuff. This is a people's revolution. This is an electoral revolution. That is why there is, you know, the last 3 days I've got over 800 friends on Facebook just because I have a Bernie Sanders picture. Be careful of those types of people. Not the true supporters, but since that is happening, you know there's going to be some fucking trolls and maybe, you know, hackers and spies and, you know, catfish people. They're going to try to, you know, get you onto their thing, flirt with you a little bit, then start asking you for money. Bernie Sanders is a real deal. Bernie Sanders is the real thing. So, you know, come on, America. We can be great again. We can actually restore the American dream and, you know, make America great again. I don't know how else to put it. And, you know, perhaps we can actually, the history books of what I've read about America versus what America, you know, could or should be, well, we can actually make America the greatest fucking nation in the entire world. So, Jonathan Masters, Kentucky voter who's in support of Bernie Sanders. Be smart, America, and be safe. Viva la revolution. Well, Kentucky. Kentucky. That's where I'm from, you know. What's up, Kentucky? Viva la revolution. Peace.